Hello folks and welcome into day 4 of NBA free agency. I am Tom Downey, alongside me is Harrison Graham. We're going to break down all the latest news, the rumors, the signings, everything you guys want to know about NBA free agency. Of course, we're not dumb. We know what everyone wants to know. It's what we're all still waiting to learn. That's what's going to happen with Kawhi Leonard. Harrison, what is the latest right now around him?
Yeah, day 4 of Kawhi watch, not just of the rest of NBA free agency. Look, he's keeping a very tight circle. There's no doubt about that. Yesterday, it seemed like the Lakers had all the momentum. Now, nobody knows. Woj doesn't have any inside info. Windhorst, Shams, Stein, none of these guys have any idea what this guy is going to do, which means there's no consensus on who's the favorite to get him. Of course, Toronto did get the last meeting with him. I'm not sure if he's set to meet more with the Raptors today.
That allegedly was today, or yesterday was that meeting.
Yeah, so I think now it's just wait and see mode. So what is Kawhi going to do? And I have no idea, Tom. I think it's anybody's game at this point.
Look, no one knows what's going to happen with Kawhi. So those of you in the comments putting up fake stories in there, be careful. The social people here might ban you at some point there. I will say this, Kawhi, he's actually following the rules, and it kind of bothers me here. Like, he's the only one out there in NBA free agency who is choosing to say, you know what, I'm going to follow the rules, I'm going to take my time. I'm not going to start my meetings until free agency begins. It's like he's programmed.
Very on brand, by the way, there, Tom.
Yeah,
just keeping it under the radar, taking his time. And let's remember, folks, too, his season ended 2 weeks ago. Like, the Kevin Durant's of the world, Durant had more time. Some of these other guys didn't even make the playoffs. They've signed. Not a lot of time for him to process what exactly he wanted to do, because he's coming off winning a title with that historic run with the Raptors, of course. And I think when you win a title, too, and you're the face of that, you take about a week to kind of celebrate and recompress that. So he's really only focused on free agency probably the last week or so. So he's still early in his process, and we'll see if today is that day that we get some clarity on where Kawhi Leonard ends up.
At this point, I'll just sit around waiting for Kawhi to make a decision. I would not be surprised if it ends up being July 4th in the end.
I said that yesterday. Speaking of on brand, July 4th at about 9 o'clock at night, while everybody's out enjoying their drinks, watching some fireworks, eating some barbecue, that would be a very Kawhi Leonard type of move as we await his decision.
So there are only 3 teams here in the mix to land Kawhi. That is the Clippers, the Lakers, and the Raptors. Both LA teams, really the only team out there with a true $32 million max contract. There are some other teams that could make the money if they needed, but those are the 2 that actually have it right now. And Toronto, of course, have the bird rights for Kawhi. Therefore, they can go over the cap to re-sign him.
Yeah, and of course, both LA teams pretty much all in on Kawhi at this point, especially in the Lakers, since they only have 5 or 6 bodies currently on their roster. They did add Jared Dudley yesterday, but it's Kawhi or bust for the Lakers and the Clippers, especially in the Lakers, and of course, Toronto, they want to keep him. If they don't, hey, he got him a title. It was a great run. I don't think they're going to be super upset, but obviously they want to bring him back as well.
All right, folks, so predict the time and date of the Kawhi announcement. Many of you who already emailed us, you're incorrect, but we'll let you, I guess, maybe do it again. Why not?
Yeah, look, it's got to be the right day to the exact minute.
Eastern, at least qualify your time zone, by the way, because if you just put in 6 o'clock, you can't cheat and say, I meant 6 Central when you really meant 6 Eastern.
I meant 6 in Eastern Europe. No, you got to clarify which time zone you're talking about. So go to Kawhi at chatsports.com, enter that exact time and date, and you'll win a prize from us.
All right, folks. So again, that's email at Kawhi at chatsports.com. That is Kawhi's burner account, by the way. Don't tell anybody. We won't tell anyone. I guess I kind of blew that, didn't I?
I think you did blow that.
Sorry, Kawhi.
That's fake news, not Kawhi's burner account, as Tom stumbled through that one. I think we got to get to these team pitches, by the way.
Yeah, so we'll start with the defending champions, the Toronto Raptors. What's the pitch here?
Okay, the pitch is simple, right? You're the king of Canada if you already, and you really cement that if you go back to Toronto and you run it back. Look, they got a lot of guys in the last year of their deal. Veterans, Kyle Lowry, Marc Gasol opted in. You got a rising player in Pascal Siakam. I think with KD sitting this year out in Brooklyn, the really only big threat in the East is Milwaukee right now. So you've got a very good chance of getting back to the finals. And then you can hit free agency again next year if you're Kawhi in a very weak free agency pool. So to me, that's kind of the pitch if you're Toronto to try and keep Kawhi Leonard.
You didn't include Drake on here.
True.
For on purpose or not on purpose?
I'm not sure Drake is a big pitch if you're Kawhi. I know
not.
he's trying
Totally
to recruit him, but yes, Drake, of course, is trying to keep his boy.
With the dip there. Yeah?
I'm not a Drake guy, man.
I know you're not.
I'll be honest. I can't do Drake. I just can't. To me, that hurts their chances of getting Kawhi, getting Drake involved in the act. I'm just not in on Drake and the Raptors, but he is certainly trying to be a part of this thing.
All right, so who's the king of Canada? Type D for Drake, K for Kawhi. Feel free to throw in other people in there as well.
Kawhi. It's not
Kawhi?
Drake.
Trick question.
Anti-Drake
it's
guy.
actually going to be Prince Charles soon. You think I'm kidding? I'm not, though. When Queen Elizabeth dies, technically speaking, Prince Charles becomes the king of Canada.
Who's your favorite Prince? Fielder?
Just Prince.
Just Prince? True.
Just Prince.
Prince is hard to beat. So, yeah, type D for Drake, type K for Kawhi in the comments section.
Yeah. All right, so what's your favorite Drake song there? Also, shout out Harul, who said Justin Bieber was the king of Canada.
Yeah, that's a pretty good one there. While I am anti-Drake guy, his Take Care album is pretty good stuff there. So I'll go Headlines on that album. That's a good one there.
That's a good
Mitch
choice.
shaking his head back there. I think that's a good one.
That's a
I'll
good
go
choice.
Pretty up-tempo there. I'll go Headlines.
Stanky Pineapple Pro says Marvin's Room because he's a sad boy.
What are you, a Hornets fan?
Oh, savage. Right
Knicks,
there.
maybe? Headlines
is in there. I see nonstop. All right, some good ones here. All right, folks, let's move to the potential lineup for Toronto with Kawhi. Look, just roll it back. Maybe you bring back Danny Green, too, as well.
Yeah, right now you pencil in Norman Powell. Of course, Green may or may not be waiting on Kawhi's decision at this point, but very similar lineup, very similar bench. In a lot of ways, they're trying to bring back that exact core. You'd have Anunoby this year, who's back and healthy. So, again, I think this roster would compete and be the favorites to beat in the favorites in the East to get back to the finals next year.
Roll it back one more year, you remain in really, really good shape. Of course, the Raptors, Lakers, Clippers, those are the three teams still waiting on Kawhi to make his decision. There are other pieces like a Marcus Morris, like a Danny Green, who are still in the mix there as well. You put this one, Harris, here. What's your favorite extinct dinosaur? Now, my first question to you is, why'd you clarify with extinct?
They're all extinct, sir.
They're all dead. So you don't, that's like saying, what's your favorite dinosaur? Like, it's this
they could be
extinct
back.
dinosaur are the same.
They might be coming back. You never know.
Look, Jurassic Park, I would love to have happen. That's not how it works.
You would love to have it happen?
Yes, I want a pet velociraptor. That is the correct answer, by the way. Velociraptor.
You're not a pterodactyl guy?
Well, let me clarify here.
Flying dinosaurs.
First off, it's pronounced pterodactyl, sir. I know how to read.
The P is not silent.
Exactly. The velociraptor from the Jurassic Park movies is my favorite, which is really the Deinonychus dinosaur.
I feel like the
velociraptor sounds cool.
Tyrannosaurus Rex is just kind of the cliche answer, so I'm going to stick away there. I'm sticking with the pterodactyl. P is silent, unlike what Tom Downey is saying.
Pterodactyl. I know how to read, sir.
If you could spell pterodactyl.
I'll clarify this. You mentioned T-Rex there. I've told many of you this, but my firstborn son, I want to name him Thomas Rex Downey so I can call him T-Rex. Because tell me that kid's not going to be the most badass kid ever.
Tom, for those of you who don't know,
Tom
has a sports theory that
it's not a theory, it's a fact.
If you have a dope name, you're going to be legit in sports. That's basically...
Find me a person with an awesome name or nickname
that's ordinary.
That wasn't great at what he did. No matter what that kid does, he's going to be a success. Lawyer. No one wants to mess with the T-Rex lawyer. Football player. As long as he's not a receiver, he's going to be fantastic. Basketball player, whatever it is. Drug dealer. No one's going to mess with that guy. He's going to be a success in the end.
Well, we'll see how that works out for Tom and the Downey family. Let's get to the Lakers pitch for Kawhi Leonard. Look, I think it's simple. You get to be the face of maybe the biggest franchise in the sport. And again, that's got to be a clarification for the Lakers here. You have to sell Kawhi. Yeah, we got LeBron. We got Anthony Davis. This is your team. Kawhi doesn't want to play second fiddle to LeBron or anybody else. You got to sell him that this is his group.
I think that's the key thing for LeBron, and I think he's already laid this foundation of that by giving AD the number 23 jersey. He says, look, Kawhi, I already gave up my number to AD, man. You're going to be the focal point here. This ain't my team anymore. This is yours and Anthony Davis.
But does it ever really work out that way with LeBron?
They're going to tell him.
There's no evidence of that.
I don't know. Look, LeBron is not the same guy he was in Cleveland or Miami anymore. Playoff mode LeBron didn't get activated.
And it is fair to say, coming off a 37-win season where he missed some time with injury, maybe he has had a shift in focus and just simply wants to do what it takes to win. And getting Kawhi Leonard is a good step in doing that if you're LeBron and the Lakers.
So here's a potential lineup for the Lakers. Again, the shooting guard, we don't really know who that ends up being there. And I think LeBron really does end up playing the point guard role there.
Yeah, I mean, you could plug in Troy Daniels. They picked up Jared Dudley. I still think they'll be in the market for some other shooters. Maybe Danny Green becomes an option there. Pencil in any veteran shooter. That's what it's going to be there. And, yeah, LeBron's going to, be the primary ball handler there. Kawhi Leonard will take some of those duties as well. It looks like they won't really have a true point guard on this roster.
I do think Rondo ends up back on like a vet min deal, frankly.
Yeah, he could run that second unit, put a bunch of shooters around him, and you can kind of mix and match lineups with Kuzma running with the second team as well. So I certainly think that would be an option.
All right, folks, so this is the Lakers pitch to Kawhi there again. By the way, make sure you are subscribed. Get us to 125K. And I'm actually going to take it one step further just for like this show only. I want us to get to 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6.
That could happen.
That's what
That'd
I want.
Fun.
And I want that screen grab too. So somebody
We'll get producer Tad on that. He'll screen grab it. So you got to hit that subscribe button. YouTube.com/ChatSportsTV. We're going to be live throughout the rest of free agency. NFL season's rolling around. Tom and Mitch, and I'll probably get involved with some of that as well. Lots of good stuff we have going on here at Chat Sports.
All right. So the Clippers, their pitch meanwhile to Kawhi. What is it here, Harrison?
I think it's we get less coverage than the Lakers, and I know you don't want the spotlight all the time, so come be the face of our franchise. You don't have to have all that buzz surrounding LeBron and LA and everything that's going to happen there with Anthony Davis as well, and you pitch him on depth too. Hey, we got a ton of depth. Lakers don't. We can do some of that load management that you did in Toronto, and we'll go super deep. You don't have to play all the back-to-backs, and we'll ramp you up come playoff time, and you get to play for Doc Rivers. I think that's another part of the pitch there too, whereas the Lakers can't say that and the Raptors can't say that either.
I think the issue for LA, and this was their plan originally, was, hey, we're going to set up a scenario where you get to be paired with Jimmy Butler or Kevin Durant, and that did not happen.
Yeah, that has gone awry. So you can't sell him on a fellow superstar. So if you're Kawhi and this is the pitch from the Clippers, don't you just go back to the Raptors?
Yeah.
I mean, I think that's kind of the challenge for the Clippers. The only thing they have over a Toronto, one location, and B, maybe Doc Rivers, although Nick Nurse proved last year that he is among the higher tier among coaches in the NBA.
I will make note, though, this Clippers unit with Kawhi, it's a good squad.
Yeah, and it's very deep. I think, again, the depth is the pitch, a big part of the pitch there for the Clippers. I mean, you got the starting five there with Alexander and Pat Beverly in the backcourt. Don't forget, you got the sixth man of the year in Lou Williams. He would certainly be in there in crunch time. We'll see what happens with Gallinari. Maybe they ship him for some cap space, but he quietly averaged 20 points per game last year. So that is a team that can score in a lot of different ways.
All right, folks. So again, the latest on Kawhi. Raptors, Lakers, Clippers, they're all patiently, and maybe patience is in quotes there, waiting.
Well, you don't have a choice, especially if you're the Lakers. You have no choice at this point but to wait on what Kawhi decides to do.
All right, folks, so prediction time. What team will Kawhi Leonard sign with? Type TOR for the Raptors, LAC for the Clippers, LAL for the Lakers. What do you think?
My final thought here is I'm going to circle back to Toronto. Yesterday, I thought the Lakers had the slight edge, but I truly think nobody knows. And with them getting the last meeting, with the East being more winnable, I think he signs a short-term deal and runs it back up in Canada.
Votes are coming in. If you're typing in DAL, I'm sorry. It's just not going to happen. Looks like LAL, though, is the winner. So, folks, keep those votes flowing here live on YouTube. All right, trade alert for you guys. Memphis and Atlanta Hawks. Chandler Parsons, he's been dealt.
He's back
all
in
the
the
bad
news.
Contracts getting dealt this week.
Chandler Parsons, of course, who signed that 4-year, $94 million max, I guess 4 seasons ago now. RIP Memphis Grizzlies era with Chandler Parsons. Look, I mean, this makes sense really from both sides because the Hawks have made it known we're not in win now mode. We're gonna build around Trae Young. We're getting young assets, and we'll take expiring deals to get future assets and build for 2-3 years from now and really make a run. Then I like that. I like it from that standpoint for Atlanta and Memphis. Look, you just had to dump this guy, and any way you could get rid of him. Like Atlanta, trying to go young, build around Ja Morant. So I think this makes sense for both parties.
And I'll make note in terms of the money side of things here. Both of these deals, all 3 of these deals are expiring in Chandler Parsons, Solomon Hill, and Miles Plumlee. It ends up being that the Hawks actually save $0.2 million on this one.
Big money there.
Big money savings.
Hey, I'll
right
take
there.
$0.2 million.
And
I don't know about you.
Solomon Hill comes in, and this actually indicates to me that maybe Memphis does buy out Andre Iguodala.
Yes,
Hill can play that backup.
Well, I definitely think that happens. The only reason they wouldn't is if they tried to make it a deadline deal and get something for him, trade him to a contender at the deadline. But if you're Memphis, go all in on building around Jackson and Ja Morant. Playing Andre Iguodala doesn't do him any good, doesn't do you and your future any good. I think he gets bought out in the end.
And then Miles Plumlee, also a part of this deal. Again, there's like 12 points per game combined with all of these players.
How many Plumlees are in the NBA, by the way?
Just 2.
They're just
Mason
good
and
enough.
Miles.
I guess that third one never quite
like
quite
16
made
points,
it.
by the way.
But yeah, expiring contracts, not a surprise. You see these type of deals every offseason. Makes sense for both parties.
All right, so Hawks, this is their current lineup right now. We'll put Parsons on the bench because he's definitely not going to start for them unless something's gone terribly, terribly wrong. Lack of bigs right now at center. Boogie?
I was thinking the same thing there because you just moved on from Plumlee. Why not take a flyer on a one-year deal for DeMarcus Cousins? Look, he's going to have to play somewhere. I think that can make some sense there. Then, of course, this is what the Grizzlies lineup currently looks like as they make that trade with Atlanta.
And they've got extra bench pieces, too. Solomon Hill not even on that unit there. They kind of don't have a bit. They have a question mark shooting guard. Maybe it is Avery Bradley. I'm not really sure in the end.
I think Hill's a stretch wave candidate as well if they choose to go that route.
He's only got 1 year left on his deal, so they wouldn't even have to stretch it. They could just outright waive him there and just eat that. No, you're right. He could be a stretch wave.
You have to stretch wave if you want to save money. Otherwise, they could just waive him and eat the cap.
Other centers out there, by the way, Boban, JaVale McGee is still unsigned. I
think Boogie and JaVale are really the two guys, and after that, it's a significant fall
The
off.
GOAT, Joakim Noah, who played well for Memphis. Maybe he's not well-ish relative to expectations.
He wasn't
Zaza,
a disaster.
Type Zaza to trigger Jimmy. He's not paying attention, but type Zaza.
Did Zaza even play last year? I know that got
technically speaking, yes.
played in a couple of games last year.
Yes.
Yeah, the center market has dried up significantly.
All right, folks. So that's the trade right there. The Memphis Grizzlies, and they get Miles Plumlee and Solomon Hill. Chandler Parsons goes to the Atlanta Hawks. Do you think there's a winner of this trade here?
No. I think this is just moving pieces around to, manipulate your roster. Nothing to really see here. Like you said, the money is not significant either way.
And so Parsons going to the Atlanta Hawks. Memphis got rid of him as they didn't want him anymore. What a terrible contract that ended up being there. Miles Plumlee, Solomon Hill, they go to the Memphis Grizzlies on that front there. That's that trade on that front there. Again, it's a noteworthy trade, but in the end, it's kind of a neutral trade here as well.
Yeah, I definitely agree with that point. How about Marcus Morris? Could the Mavericks be interested?
I think it makes some sense. Like, they have to spend money, Like, that's what they have to do here.
Yeah, I mean, Dallas, look, the almost $23 million in cap space. We know they're waiting on Danny Green. That's their number one target right now. This is the report last night that Brad Townsend confirmed that they are interested in Morris, but, quote, the Mavs have a few ahead of Morris.
So wait, who could be ahead of him?
Clearly, Danny Green's the one, but there's no one else after him unless they have a trade up their sleeve, but that doesn't really make sense to me. I think, look, piece together that $23 million and get Green and Morris. I think the money works out a little bit there. If you need a little more money, you stretch wave Courtney Lee to create up $7.5 million and get that number even higher.
All right, so again, here are the numbers last year from Marcus Morris. He still brings you, Harrison, some good value as a bench player.
Oh, absolutely. Look, he was a good starter for the Celtics for that core over the past several seasons. He's really reinvented his game over the last 3 or 4 years. He's a good three-point shooter, grabs rebounds. He mixes it up a little bit with other players on opposing teams, which I like. I think the Mavericks need some attitude and some edge to their team. I think Morris could provide some of that. So I think it would be a great fit. He's a guy that I think would be probably a six-man type of player for them and who could start in a pinch as well.
All right, so again, folks, those Mavs do have interest in Marcus Morris. What role do you think he plays in the end there?
I think he is a 25 minutes off the bench guy, gives you 10 to 12 points, spaces the floor, can grab some rebounds. He can play the 3 and the 4 depending on certain lineups. And I think he'd be a good option for the Mavs because they can mix and match with some of those bigs. They brought back Powell. They brought back Kleba. They're kind of versatile, can play the 4 and the 5. You got Porzingis. So I think his versatility would be a good asset for the Mavs.
So we haven't really had much discussion about Marcus Morris. I think the Mavs make sense there. Also, because he is a Clutch Sports client, you have to include the LA Lakers.
The Lakers will definitely be in the mix for Morris.
All right, the other big free agent, that is DeMarcus Cousins. How about Boogie and the Spurs? First off, I get all credit for this. This is my idea. I came up with this first. I had it first.
I got to admit, in the office, you floated this the other day. I thought it was
3 days ago.
I thought it was ridiculous, and now the report is that he has been in conversations with several players across the NBA, including DeMar DeRozan.
And I find that interesting. I want to see DeMarcus Cousins here with the San Antonio Spurs. It's weird. It's a weird fit, but I like weird in the NBA. And why not try it?
Usually this is not a player with his his personality that would make sense with a Greg Popovich type of team. But look, San Antonio could use some extra scoring. I think on the flip side of that, maybe Pop can get the best out of this guy at this point in his career. If anybody can. Yeah, I mean, you would think it. And when I say it like that, look, I don't think Boogie's washed. The guy just hasn't been able to stay healthy. In the 30 games he played last year for Golden State, he played pretty well. In the 2 games they won in the finals, he was a big part of that. So when he's right, he's still a plus player in the NBA, and maybe the Spurs feel like they can get the best out of him.
There are obviously other destinations than just these 3 that we'll bring up, but these are the 3 that I think make the most sense. Of course, there's now the connection with the Spurs and DeMarcus Cousins. Because the Spurs have Jakob Poeltl, shout out me for saying it wrong for like months there. But the Spurs make sense there for DeMarcus Cousins there because they need center help there. The Lakers, Anthony Davis reunion there.
Yeah.
They got to find bodies.
And he has said he would like the idea of playing with Boogie again. Yep. So that would certainly be a fit. And we just mentioned the Hawks.
Who also just freed up the roster spot to afford him there.
Yeah, so I think you're right at this point. It's those 3. The Golden State thing has sailed after they brought in Willie Cauley-Stein and Kevon Looney. So I think it's down to those 3 for Boogie.
All right, so would you want your team to sign Boogie? Let us know in the comments section. I say yes.
Yeah, I still – it depends on the team. But I think he's still a guy worth bringing in, especially considering what the chatter is for his market. I mean, apparently he's not even mid-level worthy at this point. So if you bring him in for like $3 million, absolutely take a flyer on that.
Young OG wants to know why we don't have the Miami Heat up there. They're pretty tight on roster space as it is. In fact, they literally don't have the space. Like they're already at.
They could do the vet men, but that's it.
They could do the vet men, that's it. And also, they are focused on Bam Adebayo. Does DeMarcus Cousins want to come in and be a backup and play 10 to 15 minutes a game?
No, I don't think so.
He's going to try and get more money
I don't like
else.
that fit. Yeah, I agree with you.
All right, folks. Richard Jefferson, you guys probably saw the tweet, but what's actually going on here, Harrison?
Well, yesterday he tweeted out that he'd like to play one more season, and it wasn't in a joking tone. I tone in air quotes because it was on Twitter, but he hopped on Golic and Wingo this morning, of course, ESPN's morning show, and said he is not unretiring, so that ship has sailed. The Lakers may have been a team that would have been interested as they try to fill out their roster, but I mean, look, he's 39 years old. This is probably for the best for him to stay retired. By the way, he would have
gone to the Heat, by the way.
And he has a bright future as a commentator in the NBA, so I think he's hanging out.
So Richard Jefferson not actually going to return to the NBA. Would have been fun. He would have ended up on the Lakers, by the way.
Oh, totally.
All right, so speaking of retired players, which player would you like to see come out of retirement?
Man, that's a good question.
Magic with the Lakers, or Kobe with the LA Lakers.
Kobe's a good one. Dirk? Too soon?
Ahmed says Kobe there.
Run it back for one more year.
MJ, I'd love to see MJ come back for one more year. He can go to the Hornets and be their best player.
Adam Morrison.
Stop it. Stop it. Ray Allen, D-Wade, Kobe are the most popular ones there, by the way.
Ray Allen, D-Wade. See, Dirk and D-Wade just retired, so I'm thinking more guys who have been retired.
Chris Bosh.
Bosh is a good one.
I don't know if his medical will ever allow him to.
Enter any LeBron teammate over the last decade. Mike Miller.
I love to see that too.
Lots of options.
Shout out the Muggsy Bogues comment too. I always like that one.
Earl Boykin.
Okay, that works too. All right, folks, the Warriors, they've rescinded the qualifying offer on Quinn Cook. This makes him an unrestricted free agent. Nets confirmed? Vet Min to go play with his buddy KD again?
Yeah, I mean, look, it makes sense. Over 40% three-point shooter last year, and which this means, Golden State isn't going to bring him back, which does surprise me a little bit. They still got to fill out that roster. I guess they could still bring him back. I think Lakers and Nets, I like you just said, are the two teams. He did play with the Mavericks a few seasons ago. I don't think they would flirt with that idea because they already brought in Seth Curry, who's basically just a better version of Quinn Cook. So, you know, I think any team that's contending that needs a bench shooter is going to be in the market.
At this point, I think Quinn Cook is really only going to get the vet min. Maybe he can find a team to give him the mid-level, but that seems
a
unlikely.
little rich for him. Yeah, I think vet min this year, if he gets more playing time, it could be in play for the mid-level next year.
All right, folks, let's get Harrison to 600 followers on Twitter.
I'm struggling. I'm not even at 500. 443 is the number right there.
That's pretty shameful.
At Harrison1033. Help me out, guys.
I could on there, so
I
it makes
could
more
use
sense.
the boost there. I'm trying to be Tom Downey here. So at Harrison1033 on Twitter, that's where you can find me and all of my on-point sports takes.
We'll give some shout-outs here, by the way. Also, they're not always on point here. Let's be honest.
I think they're pretty good, Tom. I think they're pretty good. You've got the best one today, though. Boogie to the Spurs. You've been calling that for a few days.
All right, let's move to some of the recent signings then here. And then as you see them flowing to Harrison, feel free to give shout-outs on air. Wilson Chandler to the Brooklyn Nets, a vet minimum deal here, adding some extra depth on that roster.
Yeah, we know we still got that Clippers logo for you guys, so we'll make sure we get that changed. But he will be – it makes sense here, right? Because KD is going to miss this season, so they need positional at that position. You know, he can play the 3, he can play the stretch 4 a little bit. If he, you know, look, with Durant sitting out, Chandler, look, his best days are behind him. He signed that massive deal a few years ago.
Got the bag.
Yeah, got the bag. He's looking to probably play for contenders at this point. I think it makes sense for both parties.
All right, next up, Emmanuel Mudiay going to the Utah Jazz, where that's where he wanted to be. When the money kind of dried up in the open market, his camp wanted to put him in Utah because they think he'll develop better there.
Yeah, and shout out Jesus for giving me a follow there. Look, this makes sense, and I actually didn't realize this. Multiple reporters have come out and said that the Jazz have one of the best player development programs in the NBA, and Mudiay liked the idea of that once the market started to dry out. So you put him in Utah behind veterans like Mike Conley, behind a veteran team trying to contend. We know Mudiay can score. If he can improve his craft a little bit, I think that makes some sense there. Gives them some punch off the bench too as well.
All right, Utah also picked up Jeff Green as they continue to find nice fits off the bench. I'm a big fan of what Utah's done this offseason.
Yeah, and D. Wade made a good point on Twitter. Why does Jeff Green keep only getting minimum contracts? Like, laugh all you want, the guy still gets it done. Over 12 points per game last year, shot 47% from the floor a year ago. He's improved as a three-point shooter. I think he's a great vet off their bench.
Wade said he wasn't old, but Jeff Green is going to turn 33, so...
He's not old, but he's
old.
he's not young by any means. He's been around for a while.
All right, so here's the Jazz current squad. Look, it's good. I was a little worried about how Bojan fits as a 4, but with Ed Davis in there, Jeff Green in there now, you're bringing Emmanuel Mudiay. I guess in theory you still have Dante Exum, who they believe in, I guess.
Yeah, and look, the Bogdanovic, he's not going to defend much. He's undersized at guarding 4s, but that's why you have Rudy Gobert, right?
Defense.
The best ultimate rim protector in the NBA, and they needed shooting, so that's why they go get a Bogdanovic. You add good bench pieces in Mudiay and Jeff Green. Look, this is a squad that's going to go 10-11 deep. I mean, this is a good roster in the Western Conference.
Gobert might not be able to shoot, but the rest of that lineup pretty much can.
Yeah, Ingles, Mitchell, Conley's a good shooter. That's a good squad right
Jazz are going to be very, very good next year, but are they going to be a legitimate title contender next year?
I think they are for next year because, look, the Nets I still think are going to be a year away because Durant's not going to play next year, I don't believe. Golden State with Klay Thompson coming off the ACL, even if he comes back, it's going to be challenging for them, just to stay in the playoff race until then. I think there's an opportunity for teams to make a run this year, and I think Utah is one of those squads.
All right, the LA Lakers, they've also added somebody. Jared Dudley, this came in late last night when we were at the end of our show. They're a 1-year, $2.6 million deal. The bench continues to get filled out.
Yeah, and look, the Lakers kind of let some of the middle-tier secondary guys go as they wait on Kawhi Leonard. So now they can really only do minimum contracts right now while they wait for Kawhi to make his decision. Dudley's a good candidate for that. Still can make an open three-point shooter. Good veteran. He's been around for a while. Certainly is not, a huge plus at this point in his career, but he's one of those glue guys. He provided good leadership for the Nets last year.
I guess Mitch did this one. Says name ideas for Tom's first son. I'm sure you guys all have great ideas and not fake ones. For what it's worth,
not T-Rex?
for what it's worth, my wife will not let me do that. She says no.
Is she more just the conservative route?
Well, she doesn't want the son to be named T-Rex.
Zaza.
I don't know.
Zaza's in the chat.
I don't know if that's.
If we get 1,000 Zazas per minute, Tom will name his first son Zaza.
Yeah,
you heard it here.
Yeah, I'm
Keep
sure.
the Zazas
I'm sure
flying.
You guys won't make me divorce my wife at that point. Everyone says Zaza and Taco. That's the only answers coming in. Tell you what, I will text my wife right now and ask her how she feels about our first son being named Zaza or Taco, and we'll come back to it later on in the show.
Shout out Twitter follow shout outs by the way. Kalan Rennick, Ethan Rian G, BR Longhorn and Yang all giving me follows. Appreciate that, guys. At Harrison1033 on Twitter. Tom is at What Going Down, and give us a follow. You can find what we're doing over there. But keep the names flying in for Tom's first son. More Clippers news. They bolster their roster a little bit more as they await for Kawhi as well. Rodney McGruder, 3 years, $15 million.
She has been texted. Also, I ignored a previous question from her, so this is not going to go over well. McGruder got the bag here in the end. How about that?
Yeah, look, probably a little overpaid here, but excellent defender, can guard both guards and wing players. Pretty good three-point shooter. His number went down last year, 35-ish% range, but good bench piece in today's NBA, can really defend. I like the Clippers' defensive pieces they have.
I'll make note on McGruder's side of things. This deal will not be signed until Kawhi figures stuff out or the Clippers make other moves. They can just keep their cap hold, and then they don't have to all of a sudden go over the cap together.
Yeah, so keep that in mind. McGruder going out west to the Clippers.
All right, other final deal here today, at least so far. Darius Miller to the Pelicans on a 2-year, $14.25 million deal.
Yeah, and while that sounds rich, side note here, Bobby Marks had this on Twitter. They had to make it a 2-year deal because New Orleans is using the early bird provision to sign him. And so basically it's a cap deal where you give him 2 years and it manipulates the cap. That's why Miller gets that second year there. But, yeah, the second year not being guaranteed as well. So it's really more of a 1-and-1 type of contract for Miller there. But they bring him back on a 2-year deal to New Orleans.
All right, folks, that's all the latest NBA signings here on day 4 of NBA free agency.